Hello, I'm Cooper, and today on Cooking with Cleavers, I will be reviewing the CCK 1301. The CCK is a Hong Kong-based company, so they use Cantonese for their pronunciations. But it comes in the packaging like this, wrapped around the blade. Not a whole ton of protection around the blade, but it's a utilitarian knife designed to be used so they aren't worried about it being perfectly protected. From the factory, the CCK edge is not the sharpest and is not a very consistent edge. However, it's a carbon steel blade, so all Chinese slicing cleavers are fairly easy to sharpen, so it's very easy to reprofile. I sharpened mine to a 15-degree angle on each side very easily, and it has maintained that edge very well for the last 2 months. So the blade, again, this is a utilitarian blade. It comes with an unfinished wood handle. Originally this handle was a lighter wood color. I've added mineral oil to it repeatedly, and through use it's darkened a little bit. Originally it was very unfinished. It was a bit rough, but through use and repeated oiling it has smoothed out. It has a full wire tang, so basically the way they do this is there's a piece of metal that's basically like a spike that they hammer through this piece of wood and then bend it over at the end, and that's the part of the blade steel that continues all the way down, and that'll retain the handle fairly well. Has a rather significant metal bolster type thing attaching between the handle and the blade. This is a carbon steel blade. It's 243 millimeters long. It's advertised as 240 millimeters. It weighs about 380 grams. I think it's 383 grams, which is about 13.5 ounces. It's 100 millimeters tall, or 103 millimeters tall, which is about 4 inches. So it's about 4 inches tall by about 9.6 inches long for the blade length. The handle, I don't really care how big the handle is because you're using a pinch grip, so my hand never extends past like halfway through the wood of the handle anyway, but that's that. When you're using a Chinese cleaver, you'll always want to use a push cut or a chop cut, and for that a pinch grip is ideal. This blade thickness at the stem, along the stem, it tapers from the full tang area where it thickens out for more support for the tang. At its thickest, it's about 3 millimeters. Here it quickly thins out to about 2 millimeters and then progressively tapers down to less than 1 millimeter thick along the spine at the tip of the rectangular blade. The thickest point at the tip, however, is not actually at the top of the spine. It's about in the middle where the rust prevention coating application line ends. That's about the thickest point on my model. When you receive your knife, you'll have a stamp on the blade indicating which knife it is. This is the Chinese, or the CCK small slicer #1. On the packaging it has, it's Chinese, which is 大號桑刀, which would directly translate to #1 mulberry knife if you put it into Google Translate, but it's the small slicer. Fit and finish, as you can see along the blade, there's basically two colors. There's this black area at the top that has a coating on it for rust and corrosion prevention, and it makes it look cool. As you can see, there are tooling marks along the steel. Hopefully you can see, if not I'll put in some images. There are tooling marks along the steel that are fairly rough, and you can feel the roughness and the divots sort of in the metal as a result of the tooling there. That allows for more stuff to get caught in the blade potentially, so you got to be more diligent when you're cleaning, and especially more diligent when you're drying it out. to make sure that the blade doesn't rust. I've noticed some more distinct discoloration marks in that thick, or in the larger divots from that tooling. That is discoloration as a result of oxidation. I don't think it's rusting. I think it's developing a patina there. But you do have to watch to make sure that it doesn't rust. The belly of this blade has basically 3 flats that are noticeable. There's a flat at the front, a small flat in the middle, and a flat at the rear. And that's fairly good for this chopping motion. I prefer as flat as possible a belly on the Chinese cleavers, and this gets pretty close to being nearly flat. This is another example of a carbon steel Chinese slicing cleaver, and it's got far more belly to it. It does have a flat in the middle, but it lacks a flat in the front and the rear. The CCK also comes, the small cleaver also comes in a number 2 and a number 3. I have a number 2, so it's a little bit shorter and smaller in length than the number 1. It also has a nice belly profile, meaning a fairly flat belly. This is a very thin blade. It's one of the more thin of my Chinese slicing cleavers, which is enjoyable. I find it to be a nice weight and size and thinness when slicing through more difficult or harder items like carrots and potatoes and things. I don't find much resistance from the items and this blade. It's also great for chopping through like large items like cabbages, when you can just push down and through, and you basically only have to do 1 cut with this large of a blade. Some blades that are similar in length that have also have a multi-purpose function as this 240 millimeter long Japanese gyuto. As you notice, the blade size is significantly less, so the weight of this gyuto is it weighs 8.4 ounces or 238 grams. I also have a Chinese chef, or a Western chef's knife. This is a stamped one, a Mercer Millennia, a very cheap knife. So it'll be significantly lighter at 207 grams, which is like 7.3 ounces. So you're getting a much heavier knife in comparison for size with a Chinese cleaver as opposed to a Japanese cleaver. The benefits of that are you basically just have to pick up the knife and it'll cut down for you through many items. More harder items will have a little bit of resistance that you'll have to push through, but typically speaking you don't have to do much. Also, you can scoop up all of the stuff on your cutting board with the nice thick Cleaver rectangular blade. One thing I enjoy specifically about it also, I can use the whole blade. I'm a push cutter typically, so I can basically use the entire blade of this knife, whereas on a Japanese gyuto I can only use the flat portion towards the rear for nice push cuts, or I can do ineffective push cuts towards the front. And a Western chef's knife, which is typically a more rock cut type knife, is just not enjoyable to do a push cut with. For pricing of the CCK and where you can get it, I live in Taiwan. I spent 1,070 NTD, which is about 36 US dollars to get this CCK knife. In America, you'll probably be spending more like $80 to $100 to get this knife, which is unfortunate. I don't know if it's a $100 knife. Again, it's a very utilitarian knife. I enjoy it a lot, and it's a good knife, but I don't know about $100 good. $30 or $40, $50 good, yeah. $100, maybe not so much, but you can look for it on eBay. There will probably be some offerings. There's also chefsknivesToGo.com has some CCK knives. I don't know if they've got this model, especially whenever you watch this YouTube video. Supply is all up in the air. But great knife, especially if you can get it for 36 bucks. But yeah, look around for good deals. If you can't get a good deal, you can always spend a couple $1,000s, fly over to Hong Kong, go to the store and buy it there, and it'll be cheaper than $36. You just have to spend a couple $1,000 to get there. But there you go. Here's the review on the CCK 1301. It's a great knife, one of my favorites. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in the Chinese style slicing knives, Chinese chef's knives, please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for more tutorials on how to use a Chinese slicing knife and reviews on other models of slicing knives. Thank you.